if you means that do it. Burger
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to historic Carnegie Hall at 7th Avenue and 57th Street, right in the heart of New York City. Tonight, we present Bob and Ray, A Night of Two Stars. And I'm your host, Word Carr.
Here I am. I made it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to historic Carnegie Hall.
I just said that.
Who are you?
I'm Word Carr, your host for this evening.
And I'm Webley Webster, and I'm supposed to be the announcer. I'm just a little late, that's all.
That's impossible.
I got caught on the Pulaski Skyway. But I'm here now, ready to announce Bob and Ray's debut at historic Carnegie Hall, on the same stage trod by Hoffitz and Mozart.
That's Heifetz and Mozart. And this is Word Carr, your host for this evening. Now the house lights dim, the curtain is about to go up.
There's no curtain at Carnegie Hall.
Bob and Ray make their way onto the stage at Carnegie Hall.
Well, we have good news tonight.
Good news for you folks, but bad news for us.
Yeah, once again, our loss is your gain.
In anticipation of the recent Easter season, we laid in a large supply of chocolate rabbits.
Now, these were the best chocolate rabbits that money could buy. They were genuine chocolate, all chocolate.
Each one had a genuine purple ribbon tied around his or her neck. But due to the carelessness of one of our alert uniformed attendants, these chocolate rabbits were stored next to the steam pipes in our overstocked surplus warehouse.
So that's why we're able to offer tonight, at ridiculously low prices, 20 gross, genuine, laughably edible, all chocolate Wobblies.
Now, these chocolate Wobblies are suitable for any season, actually, and the kiddies will get a lot of fun out of trying to guess what they're supposed to represent.
Well, some of the more imaginative youngsters will see dinosaurs, anteaters, and wombats.
Others will see pterodactyls, vultures, or your mother-in-law.
But now, and this is backed up by a Bob and Ray guarantee, not one of the kiddies will ever know these were once rabbits.
Any wobbly mistaken for a rabbit may be returned to the overstocked surplus warehouse where the full purchase price will be laughably refunded.
We don't expect to be able to make this amazing offer again.
The warehouse engineers have already removed the steam pipes, and along with them, our alert uniformed attendant.
So be the first now in your neighborhood these few weeks after Easter to treat the kiddies. Remember, in each of these edible all-chocolate wobblies, somewhere there's a purple ribbon.
And that, of course, will give the little nippers an extra bang trying to find it, and also pull out any teeth they've been trying to dislodge.
So write to us, care of Sweet Tooth, New York.
And say, we'll bite. Well, we've taken our cast of assorted characters to a lot of exciting and diverse places over these past many years.
Well, we started at the Bellamy's room of the Hotel Somerset in Boston, and then we played the Town Casino in Buffalo, and here in New York City, La Vie en Rose.
We performed before the blue-haired ladies of Fort Lauderdale, and we appeared at Ford's Theater in Washington.
And let's see, we were in Honolulu and Puerto Rico and Toronto. And in Sweden, King Gustav came down off his throne to try to sell me a used Volvo.
Then about 14 years ago, we did a turn on Broadway at the Golden Theater. And that was exciting. But I think this may even be more exciting to appear here on the stage of Carnegie Hall. It's certainly been a lot of memories made here, Ray, over the years.
Well, I'll say. So I guess maybe the theme then for tonight's program would be nostalgia. Bring back some of the old characters and people that have been on our program and shows over the years. We're delighted to bring back Mr. Ralph Flinger, Mr. I Know Where They Are. Now, Ralph tracks down the whereabouts of the great and near great who have somehow slipped from the limelight. Well, Ralph?
Thank you, Ray. Good evening, nostalgia lovers.
Let's get going here. Now, where's the whereabouts of Harlow Freeney, the famous Australian comic?
Harlow Freeney was known as the Will Rogers of Melbourne. He used to shear sheep and tell jokes at the same time. He inhaled a good deal of wool over the years. And when he would appear at a theater, he'd spray the audience with lint. But he's entering a sweater factory soon to have the wool removed.
Nothing too serious, I hope?
No. And in the meantime, he's running a unique smoke shop service. He sells kangaroos with tobacco in their pouches.
Okay. How about Chester Cogwell, the developer of the sling chair?
He's still sitting in the first one he ever built, unable to get up.
You know, years ago, Ralph, there was a marathon dancer by the name of Bessie Farley.
Oh, yes.
I think she danced for one whole year without stopping. Whatever became of her?
I wonder how many people out here remember Bessie Farley.
I have no idea.
Some do. She married a foot doctor in Chicago. They lived there for a couple of years and then decided they didn't like the place and went on to Lincoln, Nebraska. They're now involved in visual education. They manufacture those little pictures that go in the telescopic eyepieces you can buy.
Oh, I've seen those. Here's a tough one. The whereabouts of Louis Gorby, the man responsible for the vent in back of men's jackets.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Well, Louis Gorby claimed, of course, that the idea was his own. He got the idea from looking at theater curtains. And when he did claim it was his own idea, the theater curtain people got pretty upset, and there was a long legal battle that went on for years and years.
And who won?
The theater curtain people. The court ruled there was too much of a coincidence between Louis Gorby's vent and curtains.
I think we have time for just
He's now
one
taking a law course at Clinker University in Toronto.
Oh, he could probably use it. We have time for one more, Ralph. This is going to be real tough, I think, for you. The whereabouts of Otto von Romo, the old-time movie director.
Movie director, right. He ran into a series of bad breaks back in 1928. He was directing a movie, and the puttees he was wearing became unraveled. He tripped, fell over his megaphone, and knocked out several teeth.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, a dentist replaced his teeth with gold ones, but then in a freak accident, late one night, a drunken old prospector drove a claim stake through his mouth.
Oh, wow. That's really terrible.
Made all the papers.
Yeah, terrible. So what happened to him?
He went back to Germany and went into the machine gun business.
Oh, okay, Ralph. Thank you. It was always a joy to have you with us, and particularly tonight here at Carnegie Hall, bringing back the whereabouts of all the famous people.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Speaking of memories, recalls to me a very tender moment on one of our radio series some years ago when we reunited a brother and sister who hadn't seen each other for some 65, 67 years. We'd like to recreate that very moving moment for you. We'll try to, at least. We have flown a lovely 87-year-old Miss Tabitha Worley from her home out west to meet her brother Frank, whom she hasn't seen in all these years, and we've kept them separated ever since they've been here in the theater. Neither knows why he's here. If everything's ready, will you send out Miss Worley, please? Hello, my dear.
Hello.
You are Miss Tabitha Worley.
No, Tabitha.
Tabitha.
Everybody makes that mistake.
All right. And where do you make your home, Miss Worley?
In Bondurant, Wyoming.
Oh, beautiful country out that way.
Well, it's pretty brisk. We have winter right into August out there.
Well, it's tough that way, I guess.
Yes,
And you are 87 years young.
Yeah, isn't that odd now? When I was 7, they used to say I was 7 years old. Now I'm 87, and they say you're 87 years young. Language is so peculiar.
It certainly is. That's fun.
It is funny.
One of those little quirks
I get
that
to laughing about things like that.
nobody ever seems to be able to figure out. Do you have any idea at all why you were flown here by our Bob and Ray organization?
No, not the foggiest. I really don't.
Do you have anybody, Miss Worley, from your past years that you'd like to see again, that you remember with happiness?
It's been so long. I can't think of a soul. No.
Anybody in your family that you haven't seen?
Well, I don't think I'd know any of them if I fell over them.
It's been so long.
Miss Worley, you remember your brother Frank?
Oh, sure, of course. Yeah.
How long has it been since you saw him?
Oh, it must be 70 years since I've
70?
seen
We
Frank.
thought it
Yes.
was only about 67.
Uh-huh.
All right. Would you send in our next guest, please? Ladies and gentlemen, here comes Mr. Frank Worley, who hasn't seen his sister, Tabitha, for 70 years. They must have a lot to talk about.
What do you want me for?
Well, this is your sister, Frank.
Where?
Right here.
Oh, hello, Tabitha.
Tabitha. Everybody makes that mistake.
Well, gosh, you've changed.
You've changed too, Frank.
I'm sure you'll have a lot of things to talk over, a lot of anecdotes and memories from days gone by, so you could...
really changed. Yeah.
You have anything to say to Beth and Frank?
Well, it's good to see you.
Say,
I have
Yes.
a dental appointment, you know, and could I run along?
Yeah, You can if...
Go ahead, Frank. Nothing worse than the toothache. Go on, take off.
Very thoughtful, Miss Worley.
It was good to see you. It was nice to see you, Frank. Keep in touch.
Anything? Do you have anything to add, Miss Worley?
Well, I think I'll just go out the airport and get a plane home. It's been very interesting, though.
Interesting to talk to you, and good luck to both of you. Hope.
Is that it?
That's it. Goodbye, Frank, and Tabitha Worley.
Well, I'll be.
So we've made 2 more people a little bit happier tonight. Bye-bye.
Attention. Will the party who owns the 1981 Plymouth Fury with bulletproof windows and motor running, which is blocking the crosswalk in front of the chemical bank across the street, please move it at once, or it will be towed. This is Police Courtesy Week.
Good evening, fans. This is Biff Burns in the sports room. And we have a particularly appropriate guest with me now, with the Olympics only a few weeks away. He's Big Steve Warbler, and he's the world champion high jumper. And you're going to be hearing a lot from Big Steve. Welcome to the sports room.
Well, it's good to be here. I'd like to make one correction, though, Biff.
Sure.
You said I was the world champion high jumper. Actually, I'm the world champion low jumper.
Well, can't be very much difference between the 2 events. What's your best mark in the low jump?
I've jumped 57 feet 8 inches, which is about 50 feet farther than the record high jump.
Sounds as if there might be more difference between the 2 events than... Of course, you and I know what that difference is, but for the benefit of the fans looking in, would you care to explain it?
Sure. Well, in high jumping, you stand in a low place and see how high up you can jump. And in low jumping, you stand in a high place and see how far down you can jump.
Well, Big Steve, you and I both know the answer to this next question, but for the benefit of the fans looking in, would you care to comment if that's all there is to it?
No. If you jump from a high place and get killed, then that jump does not count. And that's why my 57-foot 8-inch record still stands.
This may be an embarrassing question for you, but I've got to put it anyway. Isn't this kind of a dumb sport that would only appeal to a big lummox like yourself, who has rocks in his head?
Well, I guess you could make a pretty good argument for that, Biff. But, no, I like low jumping a lot better than high jumping. See, in high jumping, you can strain a tendon, pull a muscle on the way up, and break a bone, maybe on the way down. But in low jumping, all you have to worry about is what happens to you on the way down.
Well, I can see the logic there, although it may be a little too complicated for some of the fans looking in. At any rate, I understand that you're trying to get the Olympic Committee to consider this as a major track and field event, the low jump.
Well, see, it's a little too late for this year's Olympics.
Right.
But I haven't been able to interest the Olympic Committee at all in the event, so I don't know. There's a producer here in New York who wants to have us jump off the Palisades over in New Jersey into the Hudson River. But that would not be an official jump because you can't land in anything soft like water or anything.
Oh.
No.
I thought the object of the whole thing was just to live through it.
Yeah.
I didn't know the surface you landed on made any difference.
I jump mostly onto asphalt and concrete. But you can land on natural ground, providing it hasn't been softened with rain or moisture or anything.
Right. How about AstroTurf, stuff like that?
Well, AstroTurf's okay, providing the phony grass isn't too tall so as to break your fall, or then again been softened by moisture.
So if you did get this thing accepted as a real official event, I guess you'd have to do it from the window of a downtown office building, something like that?
Yeah, so that's not too satisfactory, because in case of a tie then, you have to go up a whole story, which is, like 10 feet. Now, a much better arrangement would be to use a fire department truck, and in case of a tie, you go up a rung at a time, see?
That makes sense. Now, I know you've done a lot of research on this, Big Steve, and sent out a lot of mailing and so forth. How many entrants do you think there would be from around the world if this got to be accepted?
Well, from the mail I've received, there are 2 other entrants. One is a Tibetan who puts himself in a trance and jumps off mountains. And the other guy is kind of flaky. He's from France.
All right, well, there would be 2, and then yourself would make 3, so there would be 3.
No, there'll be just 2. I've decided not to jump anymore. I figure it'd take a real fruitcake to think you could break a 57-foot 8-inch record that I already hold, and I've learned through experience that low jumping 30 or 40 feet can give you a real headache. So I say, who needs it?
Well, I was going to say that at the outset of the interview, but you've said it for me, and I want to thank you for dropping by the sports room here tonight. Wish you a lot of luck,
Sure.
Big Steve Warbler. And this is Biff Burns saying until next time. This is Biff Burns saying so long, fans.
Our scouts and assistants are always on the lookout for people who have not achieved the recognition that we feel they rightfully deserve. Somehow they've been passed over for recognition by the passing parade. So we bring them here to a feature called Face in the News. And today we have with us, what's your name again?
Clifton Wordlinger.
Clifton Wordlinger, and he's a pizza flipper. Clifton, where do you do your flipping?
I work at the Circular Restaurant on 42nd Street.
Here in New York, right?
Here in New York.
Are you from New York?
No, oddly enough, I'm from Menlo Park, New Jersey.
Menlo Park, New Jersey. Isn't that the home of Thomas A. Edison, the Wizard of Menlo Park?
That's true. Of course, in his earlier years, he wasn't known as a wizard.
Well, no, I guess you have to do a lot before you're known as a wizard.
Right. That's why you don't see many young wizards around these days.
No, he was a Garden State genius. Just his work on the movie camera would qualify him for that.
That's true, and then when you add to that the incandescent lamp,
that's
all
right.
The other things.
He was a New Jersey great. An Ohio product,
yes,
but a New Jersey great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, gee, where did you learn your pizza flipping?
Well, my uncle was a famous pizza flipper, Joseph Hanover.
Joseph Hanover?
Uh-huh.
Why, when I was a kid, I used to sneak into the Rococo restaurant there and watch him work in the center of the room.
Yeah, the Rococo, that's where he used to work, all right.
Yeah, he'd toss pizzas 30, 40 feet in the air. Whatever happened to your uncle?
Well, his eyesight went bad, and the stuff he was throwing into the air was landing on the patrons, and from there on, it was pretty much downhill.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm glad I caught him in his prime.
Well, you were luckier than I was, but I was there on his last night, a proud, defiant man.
Look, if it's difficult for you to talk about...
No. I think it's good to get these things off your chest. I haven't talked about Uncle Joseph for a long time now, and I think I feel better doing it.
Have there been any drastic changes in pizza flipping since your uncle's time?
Yes, we don't flip them as high as we used to. There are too many pizza snatchers around.
Well, by that you mean these are people who grab a descending pizza before it lands and runs off without paying for it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you throw them up as little as 2 feet, you have to elbow your way in there and grab them before they do it. It's tough stuff.
I could never understand why anybody would want an uncooked pizza crust, you know.
I never could either. I think they must do it for the sport of it. It certainly isn't the nourishment.
Well, look, time has slipped by on us, Clifton.
My Uncle Joseph wrote the definitive work on pizza flipping, you know. Making dough by flipping dough.
Oh, right.
I learned all I knew about it from him.
You know, speaking of that, did you know that your uncle was a great friend of Jack Palance?
I'd heard that. I'd heard that very same thing.
And there's a picture of your uncle and Jack in a barber shop window there on 44th Street in the Times Square area.
No fooling. That's 2 blocks from where I work.
Yeah.
Is that the barber shop that has Laurel and Hardy's picture in the
Wheeler
window?
and Woolsey. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to go over and look at that. I'd heard that bit about Jack Palance and my uncle, but I was never able to prove it.
Time has kind of slipped by on us here, Clifton. I'd hoped that, we could have we've been spending all this time talking about Thomas Edison and your uncle and incandescent bulbs and movie cameras and Jack Palance.
It's been a pleasure anyway.
I had hoped, though, that we had had a demonstration of fancy and comedy flipping from you, but maybe some other time.
Maybe I could come back sometime.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you. Say, do you feel a little better now that you've been on Face in the News?
I feel a little better. I'd probably feel a great deal better if my uncle had been Thomas A. Edison.
And now, a moment you've all been waiting for, the annual Wickwire Sales Achievement Awards ceremony. We take you now to the grand ballroom of the Hotel Frimler, where the next voice you will hear will be that of the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Wickwire Corporation, Mr. Carlton E. Wickwire.
We're all here to honor the man who is, in my opinion, certainly deserves the title Salesman of the Year. Come in here, Bill Jester. Now, Bill Jester is more than just a man. He's a salesman. And as such, he's entitled to the very best. I know that there are those among you who would say that Bill is more than a man and a salesman. They would say he's a great human being, too. Moreover, he's a man who never shirks his responsibilities, but looks them squarely in the eye. And I want you to know, Bill Jester, that your ace is high with me. And right now, for selling 18% over quota, and for being the real pro you are, I want you to have this watch. There you go, Bill.
Is it made of gold?
Well, why don't you unwrap it and see? You might be pleasantly surprised. Miss Doherty wrapped it for me this morning.
I don't want to take too much of your time.
Oh, we got plenty of time, Bill. I just want you to be, as I say, pleasantly surprised.
Miss Doherty's a good rapper.
There you go. That's beautiful. Well, Bill, is it made out of gold?
No, I don't think so. And it isn't running either.
Say, it's not running at that,
Looks
is it?
to me like the stem was put in there backwards. Why don't you knock it on something? They start that way sometimes.
No, I'd rather have you do it. I don't want to be responsible. You knock it.
All right.
Say, it certainly did fly apart, didn't it?
Now that I look at it, I can see there's a picture in the back. It looks like somebody's mother. This isn't a new watch, is it?
No, it doesn't look like it, does it?
Well, you know what?
What?
I hope your awards ceremony melts in the hot sun.
Wait a minute, Bill. We're only kidding. Couldn't you tell we were kidding with you? We like to have fun at these ceremonies. No, what we have for you, really, is this parchment.
What is that?
And the capital letters are all painted yellow to look like gold. This is suitable for framing, Bill, when you get it home. I want to read it to you. Bill Jester, He's more than just a man. He's a salesman. And as such, he's entitled to the very best. There are those who would say he's more than a man and a salesman. They would say he's a fine human being.
Hold it just a minute.
Yes.
I hope your scroll melts in the hot sun, too.
Say, if you're driving in the country this weekend and get hungry, look for a Bob and Ray House of Toast.
You'll find convenient, friendly Bob and Ray houses of toast located all over the tri-state area.
All kinds of toast. White, whole wheat, wheat, rye, pumpernickel. And toasted. Light, medium, or heavy. And buttered to suit you on the near or far side.
And with your toast, be sure to order a Bob and Ray thick shake. This week's flavor,
prune. And now, direct from the employees' recreation room of the Lucy Luscious Nut Fudge Spotless Kitchens, where the employees are attending the annual dinner, here is an address by the president of Lucy Luscious, Mr. Percival Proudhome.
Attention, girls. Attention, please. As you know, tonight is the 5th anniversary of the Lucy Luscious Nut Fudge Company. 5 years ago, we started our business in my own little kitchen with my wife, the late Matilda née Finity Proudhome, making the fudge, while I went from door to door with a gay little basket selling our nut fudge from door to door. Today, that gay little basket has grown into a business which sells Lucy Luscious Nut Fudge from coast to coast. We have a personnel of 63 charming young women who are my co-workers. And I like to call you my co-workers rather than employees because you do work with me. Go. Just for the record, I'd like to pay tribute to my co-workers so that everyone may receive a tribute. First, the girls who crack the nuts. The girls who extract the nuts from the shells. The girls who mix the fudge. The knife girls who cut the fudge into squares. The girls who wrap each individual piece of fudge in waxed paper. And finally, the girls who box the Lucy Luscious Nut Fudge. Girls, I hope you've enjoyed the cream chicken and peas, the pear salad, and the brick ice cream with Nabisco wafers. There's just one more thing I would like to say. As you know, my name is Percival Proudhome. But I like to think of myself as Lucy Luscious. I thought up the idea of nut fudge. I started selling it personally. I built it into a national business. We make a great deal of money. I really am Lucy Luscious. Now, does any co-worker have anything to say?
Hey, Lucy.
Yes?
How about us all getting a raise?
That concludes my remarks, and please turn out the lights after you've washed the dishes, girls. Thank you.
Okay, Wally Blue is standing by in Napoleon, Ohio, with a report. Come in, please, Wally Blue.
Lee Ballou here in Napoleon, Ohio. at the Great Lakes Paper Clip Company. I have been conducting a survey of industrialists who are trying to contribute to the economic health of our nation, and I've come here to speak to the president of the firm, Mr. Hudley Pierce. Thank you for the warm welcome you gave me, Hudley.
Well, thank you. We're always pleased to have visitors here at the plant.
I was amazed to find such a huge factory devoted to the manufacture of such a small item as paper clips.
Well, actually, we're one of the small fellows in the business. There are several companies much bigger than ours in the paperclip business, but we all have the same problems: waste, inefficiency, goofing off, so forth.
Certainly, but you've been doing your best to fight that sort of thing. I was impressed in that one building I saw. I know you have others, but in that one, there was no machinery whatsoever.
No, we don't have any machinery. You see, we buy our wire in long strips, and then our workers cut them in shorter strips, and then bend them by hand into paper clips.
You must have to get a tremendous price for your product if it's handmade like that.
No, we're actually holding the line on cost there. We sell a box of 100 for 10 cents.
Wow.
And here at the factory for 6 cents a box in gross lots.
How many boxes can you turn out in, say, a week's time?
Well, with all 3 shifts going, we could make, I don't know, 12 boxes. 200 boxes, maybe. And we can clear about $12.
I mean, you can run a big operation like I've seen here and only take in $12 a week?
Well, we have a low wage structure. You see, here again, we hold the line on costs. Our average worker makes about 14 cents a week.
That is ridiculous. How could anybody possibly live on 14 cents a week?
We don't pry into the personal lives of our employees, Wally. But as I understand it, our people live in caves on the edge of town, and they forage for food.
Well, I noticed all of your employees seem to be dressed in rags. They had little strips of cloth tied around their feet.
Well, you can't wear shoes when you make 14 cents a week. I guess that's obvious to everybody.
I guess so. That would probably account for a lot of the grumbling I heard while I was over there.
I'm sure it would, yes. Yes, it would.
Still can't understand how anybody can work on a salary like you've described.
Well, there are a few loopholes in our union contract. For instance, there's no mention of wages at all. But there is a provision that makes the worker liable for prosecution and imprisonment if he tries to quit.
I imagine the union will have that changed the first chance it gets, huh?
Well, no, we have what's called a 99-year sweetheart contract. And it has 86 years to run, so we're in pretty good shape.
Well, you've got some time to look ahead, Mr. Pierce, and thanks again for the welcome I got out here. A tip of our hat to you in your fight against all of this waste and corruption.
Thank you very much.
Hudley Pierce, the Great Lakes Paper Clip Factory. Thank you.
And now an important message from the makers of Einbinder flypaper. Friends, despite our rigid quality control system at the Einbinder factory, several thousand rolls of flypaper have been released to the public with stickum that could become defective under certain conditions.
If you bought flypaper recently that bears the manufacturer's code number 38293 or 38294, return it to the plant for new stickum at once. And while you're waiting for it to be returned to you, better protect your family by going out and buying some new flypaper.
And when you do, be sure you insist on genuine Einbinder, the flypaper you've gradually grown to trust over the course of 3 generations.
And now it's time for a visit to the Hobby Hut. And your host, the editor of Wasting Time magazine, Mr. Hobby himself, Neil Plummer.
Well, thank you. And welcome to the Hobby Hut. And our guest today has a collection that will be the envy of all you hobbyists, I'm sure. His name is Parnell W. Garr. Now, I know that rings a bell with all you collectors of unusually formed vegetables and fruit. Mr. Garr, welcome, and could you tell us about your specimens, please?
I'd love to, Neil. My collection consists of odd-shaped fruits and vegetables. I'm forever reading about someone who's grown a Hubbard squash in the shape of an elephant. And when I do, I hop on a plane and get right out there and dicker with them and try to purchase it for my collection.
And I assume here that you brought some of your more prized specimens in these paper sacks.
That's right. There aren't any commercial albums for collections such as mine. And it does cost a pretty penny to fly around the country picking up this stuff. So I keep it all in 238 paper sacks, such as you see here. And I brought some of the better items with me.
Well, I'm sorry that they don't have commercial albums for your type of collection.
Shame, I know.
But I see you all have them neatly labeled, though, as to where you got it, what you paid for it, what's in it.
Yes.
There's one there that has caught my eye as you were talking. It says, well, what is that one there?
Well, that one, I believe, is the carrot one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. That is a cluster of 5 carrots grown from a single seed and joined at the top. I picked that up at a very good price from an old gentleman in Minneapolis. I think it says right on there. Yes, $3.25.
Well, that's a good price to pay, for 5 carrots connected at the top, all grown from a single seed.
Well, the old man needed the money, and he let it go cheap. Of course, it cost me $400 to fly from my home in Florida to Minneapolis, so I've got more tied up in that item than you might think.
Well, say, this other one there, it has a cantaloupe in the shape of a dill pickle. I find that fascinating. I wonder, would it be possible for you, Parnell, to just take the tape off and let me look in and describe your specimens to the people? Would that be all right?
You mean you want me to open the paper sack?
Yeah, well then, after I show them, we can put them back and we could retape it. Very simple, do you think?
If you're sure you want me to.
Yeah, I'd love to. Sure.
Off like that. There you go. Cantaloupe in the shape of a dill pickle.
Oh, my God. Oh, hey. Oh, my God.
That's why I couldn't understand why you wanted me to open some of this produce is 5 or 6 years old.
Oh, that's awful.
Well, you can't... There's no way you can keep this stuff without refrigeration. Now here's a tomato that grew in the shape of a chicken. Take a look at this. I'll just tear the top off for you. Well, you can get an idea there.
Oh, hey, I got it here. Oh, hey, that's worse.
That's older than the other one.
This is worse than the other one.
Well, it'll tend to do that when it's not kept under refrigeration.
Well,
I couldn't see why you wanted me to open those anyway.
Well, Parnell, what you have here is garbage.
Well, I suppose you could call it that, yes. Because I remember how it looked when I first got it for my collection. And I saw it before it began to decay, and I'll always have that memory,
I'm getting a little sick, could you tape it up, please, again, and put them away?
I'll take care of it. I guess this just isn't the sort of a collection to show in front of an audience.
I don't think. Do you have any oil of wintergreen back there? This is really serious. Well, Parnell, I guess I want to thank you for coming by at the Hobby Hut. And it's time to say goodbye. And I'd like to invite everybody now to have a good day and find a good hobby. Oh, hey, that's really...
Neil Plummer and Mr. Hobby will be appearing at the South Sawacket, Rhode Island Firehouse June 15th and 16th.
Gents, $1.50. Ladies, $1.
Or one gent and one lady together, $2. One gent and two ladies, $5.
Or 3 gents and 1 lady, $6.50.
Or two ladies together, $7.50.
Neckties required.
Parnell W. Garr will not appear.
Well, we've had from time to time with us experts. We always love to bring them on our programs and shows. Tonight is Dr. Darrell Dexter, the Komodo dragon expert from Upper Montclair, New Jersey. Say, would you tell us a little bit about the Komodo dragon, Doctor?
Happy to. The Komodo dragon is the world's largest living lizard. It's a ferocious carnivora found on the steep-sloped island of Komodo in the lesser Sunda chain of the Indonesian archipelago and the nearby islands of Rinja, Padar, and Flores.
Where do they come from?
The Komodo dragon, world's largest living lizard, is found on the island of Komodo in the lesser Sunda chain of the Indonesian archipelago and the nearby islands of Rinja, Padar, and Flores. Now, we have 2 in this country that were given to us some years ago by the late former premier of Indonesia, Sukarno, and they reside in the National Zoo in Washington.
I believe I read somewhere where a foreign potentate gave America some Komodo dragons. Is that true?
Yes. The former premier of Indonesia, Sukarno, gifted our country with 2 Komodo dragons, world's largest living lizards, and they reside at the National Zoo in Washington.
Well, now, if we wanted to take the youngsters to see a Komodo dragon, where would we take the youngsters to see a Komodo dragon?
If you were in the vicinity of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., you would take the kiddos to the National Zoo, and there you'd see 2 live Komodo dragons, the world's largest living lizards. There's a stuffed Komodo dragon in the lobby of the Royal Hotel in Kathmandu, Nepal.
Now, they're of the lizard family, aren't they?
Yes. They're the world's largest living lizard and a ferocious carnivore. They have red darting tongues which suck in air and take it to their smelling glands in their throats.
Now, do they eat other things, these Komodo dragons?
Yes, they're ferocious carnivores. In fact, they can gulp down the hindquarters of a deer in one bite.
And what about that smelly tongue they have?
No, they have a red tongue which brings in air to their smelling glands.
Okay, well, I guess that about exhausts the subject, Doctor. I want to thank you for coming by. I know we all know a good deal more now about the Komodo dragon than we did a few moments ago. Do you have a ride home?
No, I don't.
Well, maybe somebody here in the audience could give you a lift after the show.
Very kind of them if they
Look,
would.
why don't you stand over there, okay? Thank you.
That was Bob and Ray, live at Carnegie Hall, Part 1, right here on Air Checks. We're listening to Part 2 of Bob and Ray, live at Carnegie Hall, within the next hour, in Hour 2, right here on Air Checks.